Thanks for having me. My name is Remy Carpinito. I'm the founder and CEO of CampusTap. I'll get into what we do in a little bit, but I really want to focus on, one, how I got here. It's kind of interesting, but I'll lead everything up until I got here, as that is a more recent sequence of events. But I want to go through my founding story, and I think throughout the journey so far, I've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of investors, just a lot of people in general, and I think the story is the most interesting part of anyone, quite literally. So parents bought the first flat screen TV. They went like 2 different times to determine which TV they wanted. And I loved the process of like trying to convince someone to buy this new thing that no one knew anything about it. Like it looks great, and why are we spending this much money on TV? No one will know. But the process really appealed to me, and I wanted to do it. And I was only 15 at the time, about to be 16, and I was like, well, I'm going to apply to Circuit City. There's one like relatively close to the house, 20-minute drive, and I applied, and the guy looked at me. I was sitting in the car. I remember my mom drove me because I couldn't drive at the time. Sitting in this back room that was not cool, but it was the facade of selling TVs. This is also the same year the 40-Year-Old Virgin came out, I believe, so there's a lot happening perceptually about the situation. And this guy walks in, and I end up talking to him for about 2.5 hours, and I closed my first deal. The store manager came over. He's like, you need approval for that. I was like, I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing right now. But this guy wants like 4 TVs. He wants all the packages and all the installation, so on and so forth. That month, I sold 182 Panasonic plasmas. And they were averaging like $2 grand a pop. So I did decent that month, and actually we ended up, our store was the #1 store that sold that month. I went on, graduated high school, went into college. I'm moving into the dorms the first day. And I see everyone walking in with TVs, printers, computers, all in the boxes. I'm like, these guys have no idea how to hook any of this up. And then I made $500. Like I was charging $5 or $10 for remote control installation or printer hookup. And then the school shut me down because you can't have paid services on campus. Who knew? But that was my first literal entrepreneur endeavor, just kind of seeing a problem and kind of trying to figure a way to make it easier for people. I played baseball in college. I played baseball my first 2 years at Suffolk, so that was my first stint before baseball really kicked in. Training in the fall, workouts off season, 2-a-days in the winter, and then you go down to Fort Lauderdale in Florida for spring training. So it was great. It was just a ton of time. And come my junior year, I wanted to focus on my career, and my labrum was torn, and I was kind of just done. So I ended up kind of throwing in the towel or hanging up the cleats. I retired from baseball, and I had 60 hours of my week free. And I really didn't know what I wanted to do, but I didn't know exactly what I liked. I knew I liked tech. I knew I liked kind of solving problems, but I was studying information systems. But I didn't actually declare my major until after I quit baseball my junior year, and I declared information systems and entrepreneurship, which ended up being hyper relevant to what I do now. I spoke to my professors, and I said, what should I do? I have all this time. They said, join a club. I showed up to the next event, and Fidelity ended up coming, and there were 10 people in the room, and 2 of the people got hired, and I happened to be one of the 2. And I went on to work as a database intern at Fidelity my junior summer. And I learned a lot. That was my first kind of formal coding position in the back end. And the culture, however, was not the fit for me, but the pay was phenomenal. So I was thinking give and take to just ride it out. And the summer ended, and they extended me a full-time offer. In my gut, it was telling me not to do it. But I didn't want to just throw that away. So I remembered an alumni speaking in one of my classes about his full-time experience at Fidelity. And I ended up reaching out to that professor, got that alumni's contact information, and spoke to that alumni over coffee. And he pretty much said, look, whether you're there for 5 months or 5 years, you'll gain invaluable hard skills that will stick with you throughout your whole career. Everyone else was still undecided, didn't know what they wanted to pursue in marketing. Do they want to go to law school? Do they want to go to grad school? And I said, I talked to a couple of my friends, and any of you guys talk to alumni at all about any of this experience? And they said, no, I wouldn't even know where to start. And LinkedIn was still relatively new at the time. So I saw the opportunity. I was like, look, I just talked to this kid over coffee, and it totally changed my perspective on the situation. And that's kind of where CampusTap was born. And I wanted to do something that was cool, and so again, connecting people to opportunity. How are we going to connect students to new things? Near field communication technology was out in 2012, 12 or 11 in the first Android Nexus phone ever made. And I was infatuated with the technology. As everyone knows, QR codes, you can take a picture and it'll bring you somewhere in the web. And NFC eliminates that whole need to take out your phone and take a picture. You can just tap a locked phone. Think of Apple Pay. Now Apple Pay exists, so it makes my use case a lot more realistic. However, 4 years ago, when the iPhone 4S, I was banking on it to have NFC, was not the case. I was a few years too early, but the thought process was we were going to replace the student ID with your phone, and you'd be able to use that to connect to different people on campus, different events on campus, everything. So that was where CampusTap actually came from. I'm a senior in college, Fidelity internship's over, I have the full-time job in the summer, but I needed to still sustain living, and I lived in the North End in Boston in an apartment, and I was working a security job. And one of my security managers said, hey, dude, I met this guy upstairs, he's a great guy, and he's a CTO of this big pharma data company. You should talk to him, maybe pitch it to him. I was like, what am I going to do? Just like pull him in and pitch him the idea? Like, I don't even know who this guy is. He's like, yeah, do it, man. And I was like, all right. So literally one day I'm sitting in the fire control center. I see the video camera. He's riding the elevator down. Casually open the door. And I say, hey, Kevin. He goes, hey. I was like, hey, Orlando was telling me good things about you. I just want to see if you have a few minutes. And he's like, yeah, I was just going to smoke a cigarette. I was like, all right, cool. Can I just, can you just want to step into my room? So he slides into the fire control center. I kept the door propped, so it wasn't super sketchy. And I have a non-disclosure agreement on the table. I was like, can you sign this? I want to pitch you this idea. Rookie move. Don't worry about a non-disclosure agreement. However, the dude signs it. I was like, wow, he's serious. And I pitch him this idea of this connected app with you can use the interfield communication around the campus. He's like, dude, that's seriously awesome, and I'd love to help you. And I was like, what? And he said, no, I'd literally love to help you do it. Like, our company just got acquired, and I'm going to have some more downtime. I'd love to help you build it. I was like, that's phenomenal news. And he said, also, I have a friend out in San Francisco that after the acquisition wants to get really into a project and just leave the company. There may be an opportunity to loop him in as well. Do you mind if I share it with him? I was like, sure, but let me make sure I get you that non-disclosure agreement first. So I ended up Skyping with this guy, AJ. I forwarded him a non-disclosure. He signed it, and I pitched him the idea. He's like, dude, this is sweet. I'd love to help. It sounds really interesting. I always like working with new tech. So I had these two 20-plus years of experience people, full back-end, full-stack engineers from SF in Sacramento that wanted to help me build this thing. I was like, holy shit, this is unbelievable. And I got out of the shift at 11, called my parents. They're like, Remy, why are you waking us up? You okay? I was like, you're not going to believe it. I found these two guys. They want to help me build this app, and it's going to be unbelievable. They're like, dude, are you drinking? And I was like, no. This is for real. This is for real. They're like, you're working at Fidelity in 3 months. Stop that. Like, you're crazy. So I ended up meeting with the guys again, and the first guy, he goes, I want half the company or nothing. I was like, wow, playing strong. And I said, well, that's not going to happen. I don't know who you are, and my gut is telling me that's a terrible idea, so I'm going to go with my gut there. And they ended up walking away. And I was like, wow, that was definitely too good to be true. And I was like, yep, and straight back down. And several hours after that conversation, I actually went up into the unit for the first time. After that, I get a call from California number, and it's AJ, and he said, hey, I just spoke to Kevin. He said it's okay if I pursue this with you, and I accept your terms, and I'd love to get working immediately. So I had the ability to work with the law school at Suffolk University, and this is kind of thinking about leveraging everything you possibly can when you have the opportunity. So I was the first person to pass through the IP clinic as an undergrad, and they did all my contracts for free. They did all my trademarks for free. They did all my incorporating documents for free, and that's what I ended up having AJ sign, which was pretty cool. And he signed it, accepted it, and we were underway, and we got working. So we ended up building a prototype of that app where you could tap the use case was, all right, there's all these flyers on campus, and I have this slide that has a bunch of flyers, like layers and layers of bulletin boards, and I went up to it and I just tapped my phone casually to it, and then my phone pulls down the actual digital flyer, shows all your friends that are going, you can buy tickets, and I went around to like a dozen colleges that spring and showed it to them, and they're like, dude, this is really cool. Can I do that with my iPhone? I was like, no, but you will. I swear to God, the iPhone 4 is going to have it. I'm definitely going to have it. And very optimistic. That was clearly not the case. It was 3 years off. We quite literally had to do something different. It wasn't going to work. So I wanted to find a way to do it through just a social platform, creating a private social platform for the colleges. So I said, what if we could get your students connected to other students and even potentially alumni in more of a career networking fashion? And they said, that's really cool, actually, and that's a huge pain point. End up signing a few clients that summer. We get up to 5 clients that summer of Mass Challenge. We get Wheaton, Santa Monica College, Skidmore, Colby, and then I think we were counting MIT as the 5th before we let them go. And we were really working that to be our test pilot. Like, what's the value here? How much data can we get? So we launched, we got a few thousand people on the platform somewhat rapidly, and the primary goal was getting students connected to alumni for mentorship. And all the schools were really excited and happy about it, and we started going to a lot of these conferences, and why I'm here in Denver, and the tone of the conference went away from jobs boards, to say, we need to re-engage our alumni to have them give back in other ways. And that's when we're like, I think we should really, instead of focusing on this large career networking with jobs and all this other stuff, we should really hone in on the networking piece and the mentoring piece, rather than just being this huge platform that can do everything. So we focused up a bit, changed our messaging, where we wanted to raise $1.5 million to get a team around us. It was myself, AJ, and we hired one other person at the time. That was our first employee from marketing. And it was a small team. That was it. That was the 3 of us for all 5 clients, and through that whole first phase of the friends and family and angel round of capital. But to get to where we needed to be, the points of scale, we knew we had to hit that $1.5 million that we built out this model for to ramp up the team to 10 plus people. So last February, we were pitching to a bunch of investors, and we found a private angel that wanted to write a big check, and he did. We got $1 million in immediately, and then we had all of our original investors come back and top up for around another $350,000. And then from there, a 4-person team grew throughout the summer up until July to a 12-person team, primarily engineering, sales, account management, and we increased our client base from 5 to just about 40 schools right now in the last several months. So we have hit an inflection point. And what we found, and kind of what my gut was telling me, is that the more gas we could put on this fire, the faster we're going to go. Obviously, there's a risk, and there is a lot that needs to go right to get you there. But knowing the market and seeing the trends and shifts, we did it, and we're still doing it right now. So we're at just about 40 clients. We're about 13 full-time employees. We have 3 part-time employees, a couple interns, so just under 20 is the count we typically say. And this is the hardest time of running the company, by far. We are managing a lot of expectations. We had an original MVP of the product in the last 12 or so months that all those original schools used. But we knew that with this ramping up of sales and marketing and accounts, that we were going to continuously and rapidly grow the number of our users. And the thing is, when we sign a school, it's not just like 1 or 2 users. We're getting potentially several to 10,000 plus students, as well as potentially anywhere from 10,000 to 500,000 alumni. We signed Purdue, and they have 50,000 students and 500,000 alumni. I mean, just huge numbers. And we knew the platform couldn't handle that. So we had made a hard decision in the beginning of the early spring and the beginning of this past summer to re-architect this product from the ground up. We could have probably leaned on some of it, but we wanted to do it right, and this was going to be the platform that we are going to exit, IPO, or get acquired, whatever it is. This is going to be the future technology that we use. For me, my job is to stay focused day to day, but at that strategy level, step out and be like, what's the next step for the company in all of this? And there's a lot. And